What is up, guys? Welcome back to Will of DDT. My name is Anonymous, and today we are going to be bringing you another one of our deck profiles. This one's going to be another one of our more like fun, off-meta deck profiles, and I will tell you right off the bat, it's got some great matchups, it's got some awful ones. This is going to be our deck profile for Garp. There's an idea I've had cooking for a while now on a Straw Hat build for Garp, and with the release of the 3D 2Y starter deck just a couple weeks ago, finally I've been able to make the build. I've had it built for a minute now, but just haven't gotten around to making this video. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to share this with you. It's a really fun build. I think it's super dope into some matchups that still may be relevant in the next meta, like NL, Bonnie, maybe even Katakuri, just kind of like slower decks that build up to big bodies. This deck is really, really good against decks like Dofi, and well, Law is banned now, but yeah, other decks that kind of spam, low to the ground units and swing at you multiple times a turn. It's kind of tough into those decks, not gonna lie. But hope you guys enjoy this list. We're gonna jump right into it. Let's get started. Alrighty, guys, so as I said, we are gonna be looking at a Garp list over here. And for those of you who don't know what this leader does, he is pretty freaking obscure. Came out in OP2. On your turn, when you attach a Dawn to this leader or any of your characters, you can give one of your opponent's characters -1. So every time you attach one Dawn, you do a -1 to one of your opponent's characters, provided that that character is 7 cost or less already. So his leader ability can only be used to reduce things that are already 7 or lower. Kind of a lame stipulation, if I'm being honest. I do think this is a product of its time. If this came out later, I think maybe that stipulation may have been a little higher. Maybe it would have let you hit 8 costs, but it is what it is. So yeah, as long as it's a 7 or lower, you can attach Dawn and just minus things for free, which is really cool. And yeah, essentially we are working with a Straw Hat build. Since the new starter deck release, we have a bunch of black Straw Hats that we can search, and since Garp is a red-black leader, we can use Nami. So we're getting right into the list here. We have 4 copies of Searcher Nami. She is going to let you find all of your Straw Hat cards, which is really, really nice. 1k counter, obviously, so that is also handy. And yeah, this is a new card from the deck, from the starter deck, the black version of the 1000 Sunny. So all of your black Straw Hat crew gain 1 cost, and that is, unfortunately, it's kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it does suck that we have to play this stage in our deck, but it does enable some of the cards in your deck to work, and it is kind of a nice bonus. A lot of your black Straw Hats need to have a certain cost character or higher on the board for their effects to work, and then this 1000 Sunny is going to help fulfill that condition. And then also yeah, just having your Straw Hat cards be higher cost makes them harder to kill for your opponent. So yeah, just as a sort of anti-removal card, just a little obnoxious card that makes your characters harder to remove and enables their effects to get off. It is really nice. Unfortunately, we do not get the secondary effect where we get to draw a card because our leader is not a Straw Hat, but it is what it is. It's searchable off of Nami, and it does, again, just kind of, it does enable the engine of the deck to work. And you'll see that pretty shortly, but before we do that, before we get into the black Straw Hats, I will get into just the 2k counters. So we have Suru here. She's a 2k counter, 1 cost, you can minus something by 2, and then yeah, that's just really useful. Sometimes you just don't you don't have any cost reduction. You need something to get your opponent's big boss monsters into the range of Garp's reduction ability. So yeah, you can always just drop a Suru, get it down from 9 cost to 7, and then Garp can start doing his work by just attaching Dawn to reduce more. Beyond that, we are also going to have 2 copies of the one-legged toy soldier. Again, 2 cost, 2k counter. You can trash itself to minus something by 3. So this is going to let you get your opponent's like 10 cost boss monsters into the range of Garp's ability. So again, very just handy cost reduction and a 2k counter if you need it. Then we are running 4 copies of the red Brook, 2k counter. Yeah, really, that's the main reason we are playing it. It is a searchable searchable 2K counter, Straw Hat, so Nami can find it, and then it's a 2K, but it also does have on play, give up to 2 rested Dawn cards to your leader or one of your characters. That is a handy ability in this deck because Garp, when you attach Dawn to things, is going to be able to reduce. So we can actually use this Brook off of the, surprise, surprise, we are running Moria. We can play this Brook off of the Moria and attach 2 Dawn to something, and then use Garp's leader ability to reduce one of your opponent's characters and get it ready for a KO, which is very handy. So that's why we do run Brook over any other Straw Hat 2K, just because, again, searchable, but it does kind of work with your leader ability, albeit in a pretty specific scenario, but it is handy to have that live when you need it. And then we're also running the 3-cost Black Brook. This card is like MVP of the deck. This card is so freaking sick. On play and when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters, -1 cost, and then KO a 0 cost. That is really, really freaking handy. Basically, we are going to use Garp's leader ability as well as some of our other cost reduction to lower your opponent's characters down to 1 cost, and then we're going to swing with Brook and, you know, kill those 1-cost characters by reducing them to 0, and then Brook will pop them. Also, you know, good to note that Brook is a 4K, which has always felt kind of bad, so you have to attach Dawn to him if you want him to do damage to your opponent's life. But in this particular deck, it's kind of nice because attaching the 1 Dawn to Brook is actually working with your leader ability. So just by attaching 1 Dawn to Brook to make him 5K for the swing, you can also lower one of your opponent's characters into range of Brook's kill. So that feels very efficient, and that's one of the main reasons I wanted to try out this leader. Is you know, Black Brook works really well with Red-Black Garp, and now we finally have enough Straw Hat KOs to like kind of justify it. And here's our next one. We have a 5-cost 6K, the Zombie Luffy from OP7, and this card when attacking allows you to trash one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. It does have a secondary ability where you can throw 4 costs or higher from your trash to the bottom of your deck in order to buff him. I barely ever use that. It is good to know that you have it, but I barely ever use that. Mainly we are using this for the fact that he has a non-KO removal. He is also a Straw Hat that is searchable by Nami. Really, really sick in this deck. Against slower decks, like, again, NL, Bonnie, as soon as you have the chance to establish this, once you're on 5 Dawn or 6 Dawn, establish it. It doesn't matter if you miss out on a KO on that turn because you were too busy spending your Dawn on this guy. This guy will get you so much mileage for the rest of the game. And again, it's non-KO removal, so he gets around the 2-cost Rosinante, he gets around, I don't know, 2-cost Shirahoshi, a bunch of, you know, cards that are basically immune to KO or you know, punish you for KOs. This card will allow you to get around that. So this card feels really, really good. 1K counter, searchable, and an amazing trashing effect. Also, we are running another Black Straw Hat who has a KO effect. This is the 5-cost Sanji from the new starter deck. So on play, if you have a character with a cost of 6 or more, KO up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less. 5 for 5 is insane value. Black cards have always KO'd like 1 to 2 cost less than they themselves cost. So, you know, Sanji is a 5 cost. Realistically, you'd expect him to kill like a 3 or a 4, but this is 5 for 5. Granted, with that condition, you need to have a 6 cost on board in order for this Sanji to do his work. So that's why we're running the stage. The stage is going to buff Sanji by 1 cost. So as soon as you play him, he counts himself as a 6 cost. Therefore, you do have a 6 on board. His condition is met. Then you can kill a 5. So this card's really good. Just good momentum. You know, 5 for 5 feels great again. And yeah. Basically, it's just going to allow you to KO some of your opponent's big bodies, especially with Garp's reduction ability. You can reduce things down to 5 very easily and then just kill him with Sanji, which is pretty brutal. Then we are running 2 copies of Frankie. I like this card. Some matchups, you don't really want it. Other matchups, very useful. I may consider swapping it out for the OP1 2-cost Luffy, which attaches 2 Dawn to himself, because that also works with Garp's leader ability. But for now, I'm rolling with this. I do like the 5-cost Frankie from the new starter deck. Dawn times 1, again, just kind of useful to have Dawn times 1 effects because it gives you a justification for attaching Dawn, and Garp's leader ability already wants you to attach it on, so that's nice. And then on your opponent's turn, if this card has a Dawn attached, This character cannot be KO'd by your opponent's effects, so it's immune to KO, also gains 2,000 power, so it becomes a 5 cost 8k on defense with a Dawn attached and with a 6 cost on board. Once again, if you have this stage, Frankie will count himself as that 6 cost, so kind of satisfies his own condition. So yeah, just kind of to justify this stage a little more, to be honest, I'm rolling with the Frankie and the Sanji, and I do like that so far. It does feel really good. Next up, we are running 3 copies of Sabo, Goated Blocker in any black deck. Makes your cards immune to KO and lets you cycle if your hand is a little bricked. This just helps you out with that. And again, in matchups where your opponent is also playing a heavier removal deck, this will just be valuable to just, you know, buy you some turns where your units can't be KO'd. So I'm running 3 copies of Sabo. I do like it. In a future build, I can honestly see myself taking it out. But the fact that he has counter has just come up. I do kind of want to put a Straw Hat blocker there, but at the moment, I think Sabo just provides too much value to ignore. And next up, I guess I'm not that creative after all, because I am just running 3 copies of Hina and 4 copies of Rebecca. This is a goated black combo. Hina, you know, the tough part is obviously she is not searchable, and our searcher, unlike most black searchers, does not trash from deck, it bottom decks. So if you see a Hina in your Nami search, not gonna lie, it does feel pretty freaking bad, because that is a Hina that you are never gonna see again for the rest of the game. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. This card is really, really good off of Rebecca. You are obviously going to try to trash the Hina off of your Sabo, and you know, there we have some other ways to get it in trash, and then we will use the Rebecca to play out the Hina minus something big by 4 costs, so you can get one of your opponent's boss monsters. They're, you know, 8, 9, 10 costs reduced by 4, and then put Garp to work. Start attaching Dawn to your units, ideally to your zombie Luffy or your 3 cost Brook. Attach Dawn to them, lower those already lowered boss monsters by even more, and then swing. Yeah, we do also run the 8 cost Issho in this deck. This card is really useful. Once again, if you just don't see stage, Issho is an 8 cost, so he is going to fulfill he's going to fulfill Sanji and Frankie's condition of needing a high-cost character on board, and Issho's ability just works so phenomenally with Garp. Obviously, you want to drop it on your opponent when they have 6 in hand so that they have to discard 2, and then Dawn times 1, you give all of your opponent's characters minus 3 cost. This works perfectly with Garp Leader, because even if your opponent has a 10 cost on board, you can attach 1 to Issho. It's a continuous effect, so that 10 cost is immediately down to 7, and then since you attached it onto Issho, your Garp Leader ability allows you to kind of double dip there and actually reduce that 10 cost all the way down to 6 for only 1 Dawn. So if you drop Issho and they do not have a way of removing it, you are so, like, just dominating the game after that. You are absolutely cooking every big body they put on board. Attach 1 Dawn to Issho, 10 costs are already down to 6. Attach however many more Dawn you need to put them within range of Brook, Luffy, or Sanji, and then swing with Brook and Luffy, or play your Sanjis, and KO that boss monster. Feels really, really freaking good. So yeah, Issho combined with these guys on board, especially if you've got a Rebecca Hina combo, I mean, there's no unit in the game that's safe. Everything is cooked. So really, really nice. And then we are, of course, running, you can't run a black deck without this card, 3 copies of the 8 cost Moria. This card is insane after you have dropped Issho. Even before you've dropped Issho, you can go for the Rebecca Hina play, and that will get you a lot of value if you already have Brook or Luffy on board. So even just Moria, Rebecca, Hina, and then a swing followed by Luffy or Brook that was already on board can pretty much take care of anything in the game. But if you have Issho on board, it is insane value, because you attach 1 Dawn to Issho, reduce everything by 3, and then you are going to slam down your Moria. You're going to usually revive Rebecca for the 4 cost, and then you are going to revive either Suru or Brook for the 2 cost off of Moria. So then Suru will minus something, and then Hina will play your 3 cost Brook, which will kill the thing that you minused, or Brook will also attach 2 Dawn to your leader. So you'll attach 2 Dawn to your leader, then Rebecca ability will activate, playing out the Brook, and then, you know, your leader ability will kick in from the 2 Dawn that were attached from Red Brook, minusing that thing a little further, and then the Black Brook will minus it 1 more and kill it. So, I mean, if you know, ideally you want to have a Brook or Luffy already on board. If you have either one of these already on board, and then you can set up an Issho, Moria, Rebecca, you know, Brook, Brook, Hina play, like, Jesus, this is a lot to keep track of, but if you can set up a 1 Dawn on Issho and then play Moria, revive Rebecca, Rebecca revives Hina, Moria also revives the Brook, attaches 2 to Garp, Garp leader ability kicks in, minuses something by 2, Hina minuses something by 4, and then your Black Brook and or Luffy can just swing. You can kill literally anything in the game if you already have a Luffy or a Brook up. If you don't already have them up, I think you can kill like an 8 cost or a 7 cost. Can't quite remember the calculation at this time, but either a 7 or an 8 is still within range of a kill if you have to go instead for the Rebecca Brook route off of the Moria. That still works really well. So yeah, insane value. I mean, it's just crazy how well this card works if you're managed to keep this one alive. Next up, just some final cards here for defense's sake. We've got 2 copies of Radical Beam. Once again, searchable by Nami and just buffs your leader by 4k. Really good. And then we also have 2 copies of the 0 cost event Bad Manners Kit Course. The reason I'm running this as opposed to 4 Rad Beams is there are some turns where you really just do need all of your Dawn to get those KOs off of either Brook or Luffy, or Sanji. And yeah, there are some turns where you just won't be able to leave a Dawn up. And additionally, there are some cards that are kind of bricks in hand. You don't really want Hina in hand late game. You don't really want more than one of your stage. So if you see multiples, you can start trashing them with the Bad Manners Kit Course. So this just feels kind of efficient. I do like having the Rad Beams, but this is nice just to kind of de-brick your hand and put those cards to use countering. And yeah, that is the deck, guys. Pretty much the goal is to just reduce the cost of everything your opponent plays. To kind of set up initially, you do want to establish a Brook, establish a Luffy, and then after that, once you've got that going, just protect them, you know, protect the Luffy especially, and then just keep reducing, drop your big bodies, you know, cost reduction shenanigans, then swing for the hills and just KO everything important on their board. It works, again, really good against slower decks, against faster decks. That's always just been the name of, you know, certain more control-based decks. Against faster decks, it is kind of tough to keep up. But I hope you guys enjoyed this deck. Let me know what you think. I think going into 07 meta, it is a bit of a gamble. There are some things, or I'm sorry, 08 meta, there are going to be some things that this deck does really well against, others that it doesn't. I'm still testing on the sim. I'm enjoying it a lot. And I do really think that if we get like a black straw hat that minuses cost, that was 3 cost to take Hina's place, this deck would actually be immaculate. It would feel so freaking good if we could just replace this 3 cost Hina with a 3 cost black straw hat that does some cost minusing. I actually think that would make the deck just over the top, really good. But yeah, for now, really enjoying this build. Hope you guys like it. Let me know what changes you'd make. Let me know, you know, what you think of this, build and what matchups, you know, what your matchups feel like. And yeah, guys, we will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Peace.